Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Long and Thick podcast, where we help you navigate the noise and cut through the bullshit in the health and wellness space. Today, we have, I think, a pretty fun episode. As we've been fleshing this out in the last few weeks, the idea is sort of developed into something that I think is really cool as we just sort of polished up some of the last thoughts here. I will go ahead and share that this episode is a little bit more geared towards men. So ladies, if you're listening, please don't just, turn it off. I think you might actually be able to pick up some pretty cool insights into some different behavioral quirks, we'll call them, within our side of things. So Daniel.
Sir.
How are we doing?
Fantastic. It's a beautiful Sunday. Probably a little too cold for my liking, considering the weather that we have. I know you enjoy it, but 2 days ago, I was walking the dogs in a t-shirt in January, which is atypical for sure. I was just being selfish, but now that we're back to a 20-degree wind chill, I'm like, not the most fun.
I get that. There's something delightful about the frost. I don't know. It's the Northeast.
Yeah. And also too, today is very clear.
True.
And I like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just haven't fully locked back into cold weather, Daniel, yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Cold and gray is very depressing. Mm-hmm. This is like
cold and clear is fine.
Yeah.
I can live with that. What's new in your world?
This week, I would say I got one of my, Grail cards.
Oh,
yeah, it was a little bit of a punch to my ass. Yeah.
okay.
Less than $1,000. But I am actually, I've been building excitement for it. There's a card show that's coming to Nashville at the fairgrounds. I think like end-ish of February. So I'm just like, it's fun to be excited about something that's a little bit far out. That's pretty like meaningless, right? Or not, doesn't have a lot of like, I have to get on a plane. It's here. I'm going to go over there with Juan, which would be fun.
What was the card?
It is a Latios e-reader, Alto Mar. So it's from when the old movie came out. There's been a handful of Pokemon movies, but when this particular one came out, there was like a promo thing that was, part of that. And so there's a little bit extra history around this card. It makes it a little bit more collectible, which is cool. So
nice. Well,
yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I'm so stoked for you that you got a piece of
that I'm happy about. Shiny cardboard. Yeah,
for sure. I used to be in there at some point earlier in my years, but I get it. Having your sight set on something like, I don't know if I'm going to get this, and you have it, and it's tangible. You're like, that's pretty sick.
Fuck yeah. What's going on in your domicile of the dome?
Yeah, just kind of planning out the year, kind of how I want things to develop, both personally, professionally with this. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for that. It's actually going to be very relevant to what we're talking about today, but in the middle of my dopamine cleanse, so to speak.
Nice. Is the caffeine part of that yet?
No.
Okay.
No, ever reliant. But no, like I was really good about it last summer, and I was really like dialed in mentally, emotionally. I felt great. And then through a bunch of just high power experiences and ups and downs last year, it's just easy to fall into more complacent and scrolly behavior.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, because you're kind of missing something after the huge peaks.
For
so noticing that we're in the middle of our next one, and it's always going to be a maintenance thing. It's never going to be a full rewrite, and just kind of drifting one way or the other. So I'm just trying to run very much of the other way and kind of quell some bad habits. So
yeah. Respect. Love it. Do you want to get us started into what we are calling recentering?
Sure. As people, but especially as men too, I feel like we are probably more lost and wayward than we've ever been. We're kind of in this modern world where outside life doesn't really make a lot of sense. Inside life might not make a lot of sense. We're, like I said myself, pulled in so many different algorithmic directions, and all of that is coded to elicit a response, an emotion, a consumerist behavior. So men are not very complex creatures in nature, or like at all. So if you start pulling some wires and shifting some things around, we're not left with much, and we're just kind of like lemmings. So we're talking about confusion in the modern day, being in touch or out of touch with your emotions, and then trying to stave off any feelings of helplessness just by looking inward, stripping everything back. We talk about simplicity a lot, and I would say it would behoove most people, but especially men, to strip everything away and then bring back the building blocks that make you feel good and move you forward in the right way, rather than constantly jumbling and juggling bullshit inside and out and being like, oh, I'm a guy, I can trudge through anything, it's fine.
Right. Yeah, that narrative is very poisonous, and a big part of the issue, right, is that there's just this sort of blanketed chin up with your head down at the same time, right? And sort of fucking trudge through, like you said, anything that comes your way and just deal with it and, quote, be a man. Like, you're not allowed to have any type of response to anything outside of just getting shit done.
Provide.
And being like
be of service, and
fucking
that's it.
Gangster the whole time about it. Like nothing can ever bother you. There's so many interesting, social norms that accompany that.
A lot of like just suffering and silence, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. And in fact, it's almost disproportionately valuable, right? Like there's this idea that you don't really even earn your manhood until you've done something like that, which feels like we're in Spartan times. And there's a part of me that I think appreciates the ritual of what that stuff, brought forward. But we're also talking about raising like a warrior super killer versus like a modern day human. Like that ideology, I think, is so like void and irrelevant. And so to draw these parallels today is like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
When you're at the supermarket, did you kill the tiger in the meat shelf? Like, okay, pal.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't really get that.
There's definitely nuance to it all too, because depending on how you're conditioned, how you're raised, like I think it's like a paradox to say that, oh, well, I feel like we're not doing enough and we're also doing too much at the same time, but we're just balancing two sides of an equation not very well, in the sense that I think, yes, struggle is absolutely necessary for character building, getting good instincts. Like you have to go through tough shit to get better.
Right. And you will.
Correct. And I think some people might be a little avoidant of that, which keeps them also confused and sequestered in their own little corner. But also too, we're also taking on too much, allowing that to pile up internally, emotionally, with no way of compartmentalizing it or acknowledging it or sharing it with someone to get it off the top of the deck.
Right.
And that's where shit gets really, really weird. Like, yes, you have to do hard stuff, but you also need to be able to make it less hard over time. Like you should be better at the hard stuff and your life should get easier.
Right.
Those things should not be piling up internally to the point where your struggle feels harder and harder as you get out of it.
Right. And I think that's the essence of earning your manhood via suffering, is like trying to accumulate more badges, and the more intense and extreme your story and version of despair, the more of a man you are, and so I think that's just not a good way to live. Like you're seeking out this horrible, existence to prove something to no one who cares, right? Like,
it's this weird inflated sense of success and relevance, but it's like, what are you doing it for? Like, or do you feel whole, and do you feel engaged, and do you feel rewarded by doing that? Most likely not.
Yeah. So our first sort of nook here, like, how do we encourage each other folks to sort of sift through some of that themselves? Because I think there's a big piece of it that is just so unique and individualized, right? Which is important to walk your walk and your journey. But how would you, encourage somebody to start to dismantle some of that stuff and even sort of check in?
Sure. I mean, it's a tough conversation sometimes if you're not used to doing it, but it's just like, well, what do I actually like? What do I actually want out of life? And how do we pull back some of the noisy layers? Because that's a lot of what life is now. It's just noise. It's just, you know, you can like your fantasy football or your gaming, then that just might be another thing that you lose yourself in terms of your imagination. But you need to peel back a lot of the layers and like, what really makes me tick? And that comes down to purpose, fulfillment, like your calling in life. I would say not many of us are really doing or probably should be doing or want to be doing. We're surviving, we're maintaining, and that's part of life in the Western world at the moment.
Yeah.
However, there are ways. There are ways to reschedule your time. There's ways to restructure your life to start moving yourself in a direction where it actually makes sense for you and it makes you want to keep going. Where a lot of us, I think, just trudge for the sake of trudging. And we think that we have responsibilities, which we may have to friends, family, loved ones, to just stay this course. But what if the long term is you being borderline suicidal or hating something or hating yourself in the process? Then I think it just really comes down to, what is your calling? What is your purpose? You might not know what it is yet, but if you're not actively looking for why am I on this planet and how can I help the people around me with whatever gift you have, that should be that should be first order of business overall. Yeah.
I think that's really well put. Personal anecdote, back when I was deeply religious, and especially like the verbiage of calling and this idea that like you have a predestined, you know, God ordained route. Like there's a single fucking path in your life that if you miss it, you know, maybe you'll course correct here and there, whatever. And for anybody listening who, you know, has a faith of any flavor, this is not like a disrespect or slant. It's more just my own experience in this. It was extremely frustrating and difficult and maybe beneficial now, but for many, many years to try to get some grasp on what my quote calling was, because it's so easy to flounder. And then you take your novelty spike and go, oh, maybe this, and get these ideas of grandeur around it. And I think what you said in terms of simplifying and taking back to the core essence of like, what's making me excited? What do I like want to keep learning about? And what helps me contribute to both like myself and other people? Like it should be pretty fucking simple. It doesn't need to be this outrageous planned out thing. And the more you try to do that, the more obstacles you're putting in your way of actually like starting, right? Like we talk about often, and having action instead of perfection. And you're just going to stay further away from that stuff. So yeah. It's finding what will work for you, and also just being really honest about what's not. And as humans, especially men, we're just conditioned to endure. And I think all of us, whether or not it be a previous stint in life or what we're currently going through, we are probably tolerating far more than we probably should or want to. But we're not good with change, especially guys. And we don't like the idea of just burning everything down and starting over, even though sometimes it's what's exactly necessary. But just simplifying it down, stripping everything away, starting with, okay, what do I love most in life? If I could imagine a perfect scenario, what does that look like for me? And I mean, if you can think it, if you can imagine it, you can do it. But most men, especially, we imagine boyish things, but we're not good at imagining tangible, realistic things for ourselves. And you can get the boyish stuff back if you sort of start moving in the tangible, actionable way. And that's something we'll touch on later, is we have to, as men, have things in our life that does keep us boyish in nature. Or else we're just gonna be miserable. Yeah. And that's a fine line too, because I'm not giving someone carte blanche to sit there and game for 10 hours, because ultimately that's gonna make you unrelatable. If you have a partner in your life, they're like, what are you doing? They're not gonna understand. But if you wanna do, a half hour here, half hour there, just to get something back, then that you need to find things to blow off steam or feel young again and feel whimsy at the very least. Yeah, play. Yeah. You have to like find some shit to play around with. And it doesn't need to be quintessential, like, okay, you're a woodworker now, or like you're building a pipeline for fun, like, because that's masculine. Right. I think I want to hone in that we're not deeply associating typical, Western culture masculinity to the things we're talking about, it's, you know, we're zoomed out a bit further than that. You want to take us through sort of our next,
Sure. Yeah. I think another thing too is piggybacking off of that is finding out what will drive you forward that keeps you in balance with being true to yourself and then true to others. Because as men, we are providers, we are service-based creatures. But again, a lot of times we suspend a lot of what we want for ourselves, we're used to just suspending everything over. We have this really weird, ironic habit of we're not going to campaign enough for our own interests and time, but then we resent, say, a family member or a loved one when they just basically schedule a bunch of stuff for us.
Right.
But you didn't actively make the boundary. You didn't center yourself enough to be honest with what you need, what space and what time you need to actually feel good and engaged and balanced with all that. So it's finding that is something you just need to be honest. And guys are not good at checking in with that. They're not good at being honest with, okay, this is what I can do for others, loved ones, family, friends, whatever. This is what I absolutely need for me. Guys will just,
we don't even know how to find it.
Right. We're reactionary, reactive creatures. Something just comes like, oh, I guess. And, you know, very rarely are we saying no. We're just piling more stuff on. And like, well, I guess I can do that too. Or the honey-do list, things like that. So it's finding a balance and being better at communication, myself included. Guys are not the best at communicating clear, concise needs, wants, feelings. And that's saying that, oh, it's just never going to be that way is not going to help anything, especially as we get further and further in the future. It's just going to make you harder and harder to relate to. I mean, dating is at an all-time low. I mean, if you talk to anyone, male or female, the women are like, yeah, I don't care. And guys are like, I have no luck anymore. And some of that comes down to being more emotionally intelligent, but just being balanced and checking in and honest with what do you need to be good to yourself and what can you effectively provide for someone else without suspending too much of your own.
Yeah, I think there's a few things coming to mind in terms of like the loneliness epidemic, right? The suicide spikes, and a big portion of it, I believe, is the lack of room that there is for these sort of like normal tribes to exist within men who are maybe like a little bit different, right? Like from, again, the typical masculine side of things. I would put myself for sure in that category. I mean, I have 4 older sisters. I've always loved like, we'll say quotes, gay things, like, you know, growing up, often mistaken for being gay, which is not offensive to me. I'm just well-dressed, bitch.
I love interior design.
True. Yeah. Like, you know, there's things that are more feminine in nature that I'm like, oh, I really love these things. And I think I've been very fortunate to find people who either relate or don't give a fuck. And they're like, cool, that's just the way he is. But I also like can build a house. Like there's both sides of the coin. And so wherever you land, I think it's important to, just like you said earlier, like be honest with yourself in exploring these things and try not to feel ashamed. The big things that come up is like your lack of emotional aptitude, right? Like how willing are you to even say that you feel ashamed or guilty or embarrassed or whatever the thing is? Like that's really all hard to do. The arrow gets shot straight into anger and like rage, right? Because there's such masking, hot, burning emotions and energies that it's another form of dissociation, essentially. And the people who waver the most through either just coasting and being sort of like numb and like checked out into like big fits of rage, those are the folks that I think probably have the most to offer because they've dulled so many parts of themselves down. And like you said, just sort of trudge through these things that need to be processed, need to be handled, need to be grieved, or, you know.
For sure. Yeah. And talking about the loneliness epidemic, I mean, that's a good segue too, is men don't really have brotherhood anymore. We do not relate. We need to be able to relate to other men and also have it more than surface level sports, sex, finance.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with those things. I mean, they're basis level things for guys, but as a species, men, we will not be able to elevate and evolve and be more suitable for mates and things like that until we start fleshing out our emotional bandwidth a little bit better. You know, and we're often touted as being a very confusing species. Well, we're not. We're just so simple and underdeveloped that people are looking at us confused, women that being. But there is a problem with men also not sharing themselves with other men. And there is a knee-jerk reaction. So if a guy says something in complaint to one of his friends, say we'll talk about an argument he had with his spouse or something. They're like, oh, well, like, fuck her. That's easy. That's not a good friend.
Right.
That's someone just pandering to your impulses.
Yep.
But a good male friend will make you think about your side of the equation every single time, not someone else's. It's like, okay, what led you there?
Yeah.
Did you do everything in your power not to have that happen? Because we're rulers of our own destiny. Men, especially, were taught that.
Right.
But somehow when things get emotionally heavy or confusing for us, we're hands in the air. Like, oh, well, fucking, it's just stupid. Like, she doesn't get it.
Right.
Or he doesn't get it. Something like that. Where you need to find brothers and men who will help you develop your emotional skill set, your mental skill set, push you outside of your comfort zone in a growth type fashion, not just, and sure, loyal to a fault. We love that. Boys will be boys. But if your homies are always just like, yeah, dude, fuck that, fuck them, whatever.
And never
challenging you and forcing you to have better answers for yourself. You just need to be in a better room. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a piece of that is also comes to mind. Like, as I get older, I still feel the gap and change between times in my life when I've had like clear mentorship, in any capacity, but in particular in a way that almost, rivals like a father-esque type of bond where there's deeper levels of trust. There's, things that you know intimately about each other to a degree. There's just something special about that really can transform you. And when someone has gone ahead of you, and has the gray whiskers to be like, look, I know what you're thinking and feeling, and you're probably being a dumbass. Like, as you grow up, I think there's this natural curve of, you're like 16, 17, you start to think like you're the fucking shit, right? Like, I'm getting my car, like I'm building my life. Amazing, cool, yes, like roll with it. But then you have this natural deviation from wanting any type of guidance, right? Any type of hands-on, like you said, we're the rulers of our own destiny, but like, are we? Like, because maybe you need some other hands. It's a big fucking wheel to turn. Like, you might want some assistance. And when I look back at my own life and think about things that my dad, other people, whoever have sort of called out the future, right? And been like, here's where you're going. And that's pretty shit. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Fuck you. Watch this. I'm cooler, right? And better. Oh, surprise. I arrived exactly, if not worse than where they anticipated. And I think back to those things. I'm like, man, fuck. If there was somebody else who could dish some more of that out for me, I would follow it much better. And there's a lost degree of humility that it's the natural antithesis to this lone wolf, I can do anything, fuck the world, macho guy mentality. You don't get that humility aspect, and then you don't get to be taught, guided, shown. You stay at that fucking level and you think you're better than you are. Like, that sucks. Yeah,
I think like you said too, there's kind of a natural arc and progression of you allowing more of that into your world as you age, as you get more and more of those confirmations. Because most people, they're just too young and dumb. I've done it. You've done it. It's just someone's like, oh, well, you should probably just, I've been there. No, yeah, but you're not me.
Yeah. Maybe save that $1,000. Nah, watch this.
And I remember, it was a Michael J. Fox interview. And this was kind of when he's transitioned much out of acting, more so just doing philanthropy and was it Parkinson's awareness. But he wrote a book and he had a similar thing that he thought everything was figured out in his 20s, building on that in his early 30s. He's like, oh, for sure. Like we're good. He's like mid to late 30s, everything comes crashing down. And then when you start getting your 40s as a man, then things start getting good. And that aligns with kind of maturity projections and things like that. And I would say it echoes a similar progression in my life so far, kind of where we're headed. And I've talked to plenty of other people that are mentors and elders to me. They're like, yeah, like you think you know shit, but you don't know shit.
You still don't know dick.
Yeah. 40s and 50s is where things start actually making more sense.
Yeah. And then even still, I'm like, man, give me that 80-year-old Japanese guy to just be like, oh, fuck, I actually don't even know dick about shit. Like I'm 2 levels below.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully by the time you're an 80-year-old Japanese man yourself, you'll be able to access, acknowledge, and share emotion, which is going to be the crux of our battle as a male species, I think, in general, is how do we feel? We're blunt instruments, but at the end of the day, we have a couple of basis instincts, a couple of reactions, and a really limited color palette to really even talk about or convey how we're feeling. And that's just something that we need to be able to change. It's just going to make us effective communicators, better partners, better business people, all of those things.
Yep.
Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, my thought is a question, like, how do you develop that, right? How do we provide a way to showcase that skill is necessary for all the things you just said? Like, I think personally, one of the ways outside of just my life circumstances that was very beneficial was like counseling, right? Getting into work with good therapists has been very helpful because my father always said language is thought, right? And so if you can express a thought and give a feeling, sensation, something, a word, you sort of bring it out into this tangible space. It becomes a sound wave, right? There's lots of interesting studies that talk about that in and of itself, right? And just the power of speech. We've seen it with the way fucking water crystallizes when you talk to a plant like it's a piece of shit versus, treating it nice. And so, or not, you got what my point there. You know, the plant doesn't turn into ice crystals, whatever.
I knew what you're saying.
Yeah.
If no one else does, I knew what you're saying.
Yeah. To clarify, if you talk to water as it crystallizes and tell it it's a piece of shit, the crystals will be ugly. The plant will be bad. You get the point. That being said, though, like the willingness and vulnerability you need to have to even start to chip back at some of that stuff it's like throwing up. You know you have to do it. You know you're going to feel better after, but you just really don't want to.
It's a miserable process sometimes to start it.
It really can be. And there can be a lot that happens. I've had fucking shaking episodes where my body is like getting out of trauma, stress things from talking about things that have happened. And after the fact, I'm much better for it. But going through it is like really fucking hard. It's worse than hard workouts. It's worse than, in some ways like the event itself, but the aftermath is like being reborn. I think language is really, really important. I think having other people that are willing to show you that it is cool, masculine, sexy, whatever thing you want to attach to it, to be expressive, to tell your friend, hey, are we okay? Like, I feel like you're a little off, and not be like the sensitive, weird guy or whatever. Like, get the fuck over it. You think you're so macho, but you can't even, you know what I mean? Confront somebody with, it just gets so lost in that space. So, do you have any thoughts about tools and ways that people can start to tap into it, or ways that you've done it yourself, or probably even better, examples?
Two things, and they're almost hand in hand with each other, because most therapists will tell you that you need to get stuff out of your brain. So just to write it down, journal, what have you. But those two are the biggest ones, is someone to help you navigate your own mind that are trained to do so, because we're not. We're blunt instruments. We're simple creatures. We go on reflex and instinct. I'm like, nah, but I don't want to talk about that. So having someone help you navigate that and prompt you properly, and also not just violate any comfort levels, you know, that is a good thing, but also just writing it down. If you want to start your own practice, and this is also full circle too, is like, you need to do hard stuff to get the most out of it and to build your character. This is one of those hard things that you should do. Just because you say, hey, it was miserable, it was some of the hardest things I've ever done, but you were better for it. Yeah. That should be enough to make most driven people with initiative want to do it. But some people might hear that and be like, why would I even want to do that? And because people in the dopamine farming, crazy, complacent world that we're in now, we don't like inconvenience or discomfort, and we want maximum convenience and little to no work to get there. So I would say anyone listening, yes, you should want to peel back those layers, and writing it down, sometimes as simple as a affirming thought. You could start, that kind of takes us into our next thing about gratitude, but you could do a affirming thought of, I like what happened today. I like who I am today, and just start there. Or you can start listing all the stuff that you have grievances with. I do not like where I'm at in my life right now. I do not like how my relationship with my coworkers are, or my partner are. Just be honest with yourself. Like no one's going to see that, you hope, unless you want to share it, but you need to be brutally honest with yourself. And we've talked about it before. There's a quick, easy drawing of your brain, which is all of these clothes in a pile, mismatched, unfolded. You can't find anything. When you write it all down, your laundry is fully organized, folded, color coded, boom. Yeah. So you just need to get it out. You can always refine it later. Yeah. But having someone help you navigate your emotions, and also you just taking the time to be brutally honest with how you feel, even if you don't have a vernacular for it yet, even if you don't have your own language on how to make that really concise, that's okay. You just need to start.
Yeah, I think there's a piece too that can be added in terms of some of the, built up energy that can exist, because sometimes it's not as cathartic. Like I wouldn't set anyone's expectation that every time you journal, you're going to have like a brain, orgasm level release of like, I feel so much better. Like you should probably move.
And it's sorry to cut you off. Yeah. That is exactly why you should do it and not expect that, because we're looking for little brain orgasms all the time. Yeah. And you need to be more comfortable doing the work and having that be a slow compounding payoff, and being able to feel that effect over time, rather than looking for these quick fixes, these silver bullet scenarios, or these pops of engagement for yourself. So continue. Sorry to cut you off.
No, not at all. I think there's so many thoughts jumping around in my head, but
write them down.
Hold on. It's just fucking silence for the next 30 minutes. Watch this.
Has brain orgasm on camera.
The power of feeling is so like underrated, right? We see like the superhero, and I've been getting absolutely fucking blasted with like Lord of the Rings behind the scenes stuff in my feed. Oh, of like, here's how they made these sounds, and here's how they made this set and whatever. And the thought that's coming to mind is like, you have these heroes and these people that you, throughout these stories, that you really admire and look up to, and you're like, wow, this person's fucking awesome. But I would argue that they feel so deeply, and that's what compels them to do all these things, right? The guy who's like helping the village after the dragon burns it all down is not like a piece of shit, get hard, I'm going to do push-ups. Like you're being a fucking loser. Like I will combat you and get you onto my level emotionally, and you'll see you've been avoiding shit. Like you can't just bury everything with grunts. Like you have to be willing to go in there, and it's much harder to do. And so the more you build up your capacity to feel, rebalance, reorganize, let that pot simmer, and then take it off the fucking heat, like that is a skill that is worth honing into. It's going to give you deeper relationships, deeper friendships, like everything will get better. And that is that hard shit I'm talking about. But the aftermath of it is just a deeper, richer life. Like so Last on our list, grounding, gratitude.
Yep.
What you got?
Well, it's also a very good segue, because something that helps you even become more inviting to those kinds of conversations is just being outwardly gracious and thanking life for what it's given you. And you may be in a position where you don't think there's a lot to be thankful for. You're alive.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes down to reprogramming yourself to look for good things before bad things. A lot of people, especially guys, I mean, it's just, that's life. It's whatever. Typical, always happens to me. Okay. Well, of course, if you keep saying that, it will.
Yeah.
Like that martyrous behavior that the life is picking on you. It's like, no, you are just keeping the door open on that side of things by constantly inviting it verbally with your behavior, your mannerisms, all of that stuff. We've talked about it at length. I was similar. I was never outwardly negative, but I was violently neutral.
Sure.
And not inviting the good stuff.
Yeah.
And when it's quantum, and there's tons of, in the millennia of our species, between faith or philosophy or just the written language, there are so many references to if you do not invite good things, it will not come.
Right.
And there's just people that they don't even realize that they're doing it. They're so just blurred over in their language. Like, oh, this happened today. Oh, this happened today. Okay. Well, whether it be written or spoken, often easier to write at first, especially as a guy, but just be like, hey, I am thankful for this. My body works. I still have people around me who love me. I still get to be gainfully employed. I get to grow up in a place where we're not war torn all the time.
Right.
So yeah, you have plenty to be thankful for. You're just not on that wavelength yet.
Yeah.
And that is a huge way to ground yourself. And before we go into grounding for others, what do you got on gratitude?
Yeah, I think I really, the piece that's latching on to my mind right now is the refinement of openness, right? Like, of course, your life path will stay exactly the way it is until you start to do different shit. So your narrative and scope of like looking for the bad thing to happen. Oh, that car almost hit me. Well, it almost didn't.
Yeah.
Like the stupidity of like, is the glass half full? I don't care. That's a bad one. I don't like that one.
I don't like that shit.
It just is not as helpful. Like it's heavy. Yeah. Whatever. I don't resonate with that one in particular. But the point is when you start to, not in a gaslighting bullshit way, like sit and register with something that actually hits home. Anyone can write, like you said, simple things like, well, I can walk and that's cool. Okay. Take a fucking second and think about, have you ever sprained your ankle? Remember how much that sucks? Remember how anytime you're hurt, sick, whatever, all you want to do is feel better? Okay. Take a second, feel that shit. And then you'll really actually feel some appreciation for the moment that you're in where, oh, I don't have a stuffy nose. I remember when I did once upon a time and I don't right now. That's cool, right? Yeah. So you have to take it a level deeper. You can't just write like, oh, today like actually work like you're doing it with your workout, with your financial goals, with whatever things are burning within you. Like apply that same type of mentality and attitude towards what we're talking about.
Wanting the best and inviting the best in your life.
Genuinely, sincerely, like you mean it to you, because otherwise you're just, selling yourself short. But I think the other piece of it is that you end up becoming much more open as a byproduct and appreciative of things that maybe you weren't before. And there's some like transformative qualities to that. Dumb example, as we're talking about just emotional things, I feel like in my life I've gone through normal-esque bell curves of like being a bit more emotional and a bit more like in touch with what I'm feeling, being affected by other things. And something interesting that I've noticed just within the last 2 weeks, really, with my change in intentionality with how I'm using social media, the times where I'm getting fed a video, like last night, I saw a video of a guy who has a speech impediment and he's going out talking to people. And the footage is him filming himself bottoms up. And he's just sharing about how he's trying to work on being more confident and challenging some of the, neuro pieces of what is happening for him during his time talking. And it's a pretty, intense speech impediment. And I found myself like actually tearing up. Like I was so moved, by him, just the sincerity, the boldness, the bravery that I can't even imagine. I don't know if I'd be able to do it. And then I'm like, fuck, I have it so good. Like I can speak eloquently and it's not even a thought. It's never been a problem. Right. And the way that people respond. And I was just like, fuck, like this is good. Like this makes me feel good. This little piece of shit block can be used to foster good, encounters with people. And like, wow, what a better thing to seek out. So it's just interesting how in a short stint, like you were talking about when things were really dialed with your various practices, like getting you, I guess, more regulated, right? More of the time, like shit is just better, but it's deeper and it's not comfortable. Like I don't really like crying. So I'm not like trying to be crying more, but I feel myself getting moved by things easier. And it takes a level of boldness to be down to like live that way because it's fucking intense.
It is.
Right. And so I share all that just to encourage like the beauty in it and, some of the fulfillment and joy that at least I've experienced compared to being such a like dull, numb, head down. I can't be fazed by anything, even like really fucked up things. Right. And so and a little bit of a ramble there, but
no, but it's very relevant stuff. And I think that is, we've been good with the segues all together. So and that comes down to being more open, more honest with what you're feeling and experiencing. And that leads us to our last point, which is grounding yourself for others. We're talking a lot about internal things, a lot of selfish things in nature of getting the most out of what you are doing, but that in turn can help you better serve the people around you. And that is something that I feel guys struggle with and they don't even realize it. They don't understand that their problems that they are bringing to the equation because of being closed off or having a limited emotional skill set or the ability to communicate. And that is, if any guys have made it this far, this is for you in terms of how to be better for the people around you. And then for the women listening, if you made it this far, it's probably like, oh, fuck, finally, yes. we're talking some sense into these dudes.
Yeah.
But the main thing is, as guys, we are very reactive, we're very reactionary, and our scope is very short-sighted in pretty much everything. We can have lofty goals, but we don't tent pole a lot of things in preparation for that. We're just like, well, I'm just going to be this one day, or I'm going to do that, or I really want this. And we keep it there. Excuse me. But one thing that we have a problem with as men, and this kind of goes back to being younger and shittier and like, oh, you can't tell me what to do, is our coded levels in our brain. If someone has more experience or wisdom, or if we have accepted that they have a rank or role over us in some construct, we will be more apt to listen. But on a peer or who we consider below us, and unfortunately our lovers, spouses, relationship, partners, those are peers. So when someone poses something that almost challenges what you consider as authority, we recoil pretty quickly internally. Maybe not outwardly. Some people do, unfortunately, but men are not good at getting their own hand forced by someone else, or even thinking about it, or insinuating that you're not doing more for yourself.
Right.
And that's a big one for guys. And I've fallen by that sword many a times. I probably still will in my future. But when talking about plans with your partner, loftier than what are we doing this weekend? But that can be, oh, well, let's talk about this. Okay. Man is basically on autopilot screensaver until a question comes up because we're daft idiots. But your partner will say, hey, what about this next life move? And I'm like, okay, no, I like that. We can talk about that. But that's where it ends for a guy's brain.
Right.
But when that person, rightfully so, reasonably says, okay, let's talk timeline, how we're going to do it. we immediately like,
what?
because back to the ruler of our own destiny. It's like, well, I want to get there however I get there.
Right.
This person is being much smarter than I in terms of how do we actually accomplish it quickly and effectively.
Right.
But the fact that that person took your wayward nature out of it, that's something that's going to be a tale as old as time. Guys, just know that that reaction is going to happen, but you also can control that. Like that can be your basis level instinct to be like, but like, no, this person, if you can take yourself out of that really basic emotion and be like, oh, well, this person for sure is asking the right questions. I am just not meeting her, him, whoever at that level yet. Like that's going to save so much time and headache. No, women know that that is what we're always going to struggle with. Know that you're going to see a much macro, broader picture and a deeper end point, as well as much more refined and a higher resolution way to get there. Guys are not that way, not by nature. So women know that men are going to struggle with that. Men know that you need to be better at meeting them in the middle, because you need to ground yourself. You need to find better ways of communicating, because the relationships around you, friends, family, lovers, they're going to suffer if you don't.
Yeah. Well said. I think it's you look back, you're riding the horse, and all of a sudden you look back forward and your hands are no longer on the reins and someone else's are, and you're fucking holding onto their waist and you're like, wait, hold on. Why get me off this horse? I don't want to go that way anymore, because it's not really on your terms, even though it is, because you've gotten to that point anyway. So like that's well put. I think all the things we talked about, the down regulation, the lack of, emotional response and grounding and all these things, siphon into a myriad of different, aspects of our lives. But, ultimately we want to try to raise the bar, see better standards, set within our culture, our society, at least we'll call it Nashville. Right. I think, there's always going to be room for improvement across any single thing. But, if we start to behave in the ways that we wish others would, and give some good examples, and just keep trying to strive and push each other, right? As much as I fucking love to quote scripture, like the adage of iron sharpens iron is very real. And so it takes that discomfort to get that sharper edge. You have any closing thoughts or things that...
Yeah, just try to minimize the noise. Get back to recenter yourself. You have to find your own purpose and your calling if you haven't found it yet. And it's always going to be an uphill battle combating the noise and quieting stuff. And we're in a world of consumerist distractions. It's how people make money on our weaknesses. So as men, the easy low-hanging fruits is gambling, pornography, scrolling. So limit that stuff, because it's going to keep you constantly locked in and moving in the wrong direction and not keep your attention open to really good opportunity. Beyond that is try to really level with yourself with how you're feeling. Find a vocabulary for it. If it can't be spoken yet, you should get there, but try to write it first. Get help. Find a therapist or a counselor. Or even just a mentor. Sure. And beyond that is just finding, as men, find brotherhood wherever you can. And it might be hard, and you might take a lot of effort and a lot of trial and error, but you need to surround yourself. We are communal creatures, and there is something with having an open, fully fleshed out community of all races, genders, what have you, backgrounds. But like, you need to also have a tribe of dudes too. And if you don't, you're just going to be lonely. You won't probably say it, but you're going to be confused. And then finally be gracious, have gratitude, find a way to express that, whether it be verbally or the written word. And also know that as men, we are emotionally underdeveloped. That's not a pass. It's just, it is how we've evolved or not evolved. Right. And you should want to be better and meet people in the middle. That's our lack of authority instinct to be like, oh, well, like, they're all just stupid. They should understand. Right. So know that that's just us being short-sighted, because we kind of don't know any better, but calling that out, you can be better.
Love it. Right on. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. And we hope you tune in next time on The Long and Thick.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.